Did you know you can make fun botanical art like this, even if you think you can't draw? I'm going to show you how to draw and paint these fun bits of nature without drawing at all. Welcome to week 35 of the 52-week art journal journey. I'm Melinda, and I'm here to encourage you to reclaim your creativity and establish a healthy habit of creative self-care through my simple form of art journaling. It is still summer, and I will cling to it as long as I can. This week's small art isn't just perfect for a warm sunny day, it's designed for it. To get started, find some interesting plants. Weeds can be ideal, or something else casting interesting shadows small enough to fit on your journal page. Line things up and simply trace. I started with some Queen Anne's lace, outdoors, just me and my phone, and art journal, and gel pen, with my only two hands. No good way to film. But I had fun tracing my shadows, though we will just call the element the breeze added interesting. I just grabbed a gel pen on my way out the door, and it turned out to be one of my not-so-waterproof ones. But I actually liked the way it softened the lines and bled a little gray tone into my colors. Filming indoors with a flashlight in the evening to try to capture the actual tracing part didn't work so great filmed, especially with the ceiling lights. But I decided to play more with the watercolor pencil color combo I had with my first shadow tracing. I expected to enjoy watercolor pencils more than I have this year. When I first tried them years ago, I found them quite enjoyable, but I've never been able to improve much with my ability to use them as I'd like. And when I spent a little more for my new set, I thought I wouldn't have to deal with the colors that just seem to be harder and more brittle than others. But I'm still having the same struggles as before. Everything will be going great, then I hit a harder part of lead, which leaves a harsher line. But these colors are a fun blend. I learned an important but fortunately not too costly lesson with my next attempt to get a good shadow video outdoors. But first, the simpler lesson. Some shadows that seem simple aren't as simple as they seem. This one was frustrating me, so I decided to move on to the pretty ferny frondy plant. But since it was so delicate and there wouldn't be a significant outline to paint, I decided to trace my shadows with watercolor paint. I used a concept from last week's video, using less saturated color to show depth, which you could actually even notice in the shadows. As with last week's furthest mountains, I used a lighter color to give perspective. As the shadows of the fronds further away from the paper are paler than the ones closer up. I'd have to say the only drawback of tracing with paint was the difficulty I had evaluating how dark the paint was going on as I painted. That was some bright sun, and I was, of course, working predominantly in the shadows. And here we come to my other bigger lesson learned. It turns out that if I set up my stand on my picnic table, the iPad will overheat in the sun and stop filming whether or not I notice, regardless of how long it takes me to notice. Despite not being able to see all of what I was painting, I really like how these turned out. One benefit of tracing shadows is it forces us to look beyond what we think we know is there, to the actual shape of things. It frees us to represent a plant more organically if we struggle with that. It allows us to better capture the perfect imperfection of nature. For this week's journaling, let's write about that, the perfection of imperfection. More specifically, something you may have had to look at a little differently because you wanted it to be one way, but it wasn't that way. But you found the beauty by looking at it a little differently. Thank you for joining me for another small art and journaling prompt. I'll be back next week with another. In the meantime, have fun tracing shadows. You can also check out or revisit past videos. If you found value in this video, please like, share, subscribe. I always love to read kind comments too. If you decide to share your art on social media to encourage others to take time for creative self-care, tag me, Melinda Van Rye. I would love to see what you're creating. You can also use the hashtag #ArtJournalWithMelinda. If you'd like a smaller, safer space to share, be encouraged, and encourage others on this journey, sign up for my email. There's a link in the description, and you'll receive an invite to the private Art Journal Journey Facebook group. Thank you for the opportunity to encourage you to reclaim your creativity and establish a healthy habit of creative self-care.